This video is not meant to glorify the use of any substances. If you're watching this, stay in school. Thank you.
I quit weed. And that sounds so crazy to say, because this is something that I never thought I would have said. So yeah, I quit weed. And I want to talk about it because it's kind of an interesting thing. I really didn't plan this. I really didn't think that I was going to have this much to say. No. Cut the fucking music, bro. There's no fucking need.
This is not a sappy video. What the fuck? You really thought this was going to be a sappy video? No, it's not that serious. You just cut weed out. That's not an impossible feat, okay? This isn't sad. What?
I just want to talk about my relationship with weed and how that's changed over the years and how I came to this conclusion that I need to totally cut it off entirely. I went from smoking pretty much every day and taking edibles pretty regularly to not doing it at all. And that's a lot.
Just want to get on my soapbox for a second and say that consuming edibles is probably the worst method of consuming weed. Jesus Christ, it's lame. Oh my God.
And to me, that's pretty big. That's a big accomplishment. So I want to talk about it. I want to talk about my feelings. I want to talk about my thoughts. And I just want to get it out there, you know? Growing up, I wasn't that cool. I wasn't really invited to parties. I know that's unbelievable. You know, I wasn't really ever offered opportunities to do substances, and I didn't really know how to procure them. And then when I went to college, that didn't really change either because I was still hanging out with a little bit of a prudish crowd. And I was very focused on my studies and very focused on work too. And also focused on the stock market.
Yeah, whatever. I'm still on the friendship thing. If you want to add me on Discord, I just made a Discord server. I know that kind of sounds creepy. There's no ulterior motives there. I just want to have a little community, you know what I mean?
I didn't really have a lot of opportunities to do drugs. But all that changed when I went to Los Angeles. Because now I was being offered coke.
I just want to hop in here and say that really quick, I've never done coke. I've never taken up anybody on that offer, and that is honest to goodness truth, not just saying that for good boy points. I just feel like it's expensive and probably a waste of my money because I already take Adderall and I don't really get that much out of stimulants anyway, and I could be investing that money into tech stocks, you know what I mean?
I always had this paranoia around developing an addiction or wasting my money on something that would just be detrimental to me. So I ended up pretty much abstaining from everything with one big exception, and that exception was weed. When I came to Los Angeles, suddenly I was being offered weed. And this was, I moved here like 22, 23 years old, and I went from never being in the same room as somebody smoking weed to
The ganja. I was smoking the ganja.
suddenly being offered it pretty regularly, along with other substances too, which I never ended up taking people on because I still had that paranoia about developing an addiction. But when I came to weed, I decided, you know what? I've always wanted to try this. Let me give it a shot. And I loved it. The very first time I tried weed, I was at a Grendel concert in Los Angeles. And I was hanging out with this group of people that I had just met who later turned out to be some of my best friends in the world, and I live with one of them now. We were all hanging out on the smoking patio, and somebody offered me a joint with cloves in it, and it was fucking nasty, and it was a terrible time, and that was my first time having weed. But my real first time having weed...
No, I agree. What's the deal with cloves? Can somebody explain that to me? Why are we doing cloves? Why is that a thing?
The point is, the barrier of having never tried weed to having tried weed was broken. And at that point, I was like, the cloves were so disgusting and such a bad idea that maybe I should just try it officially in a capacity that isn't cloves. I hate cloves. What's the... Okay, can I just do a little side note here? What's up with goths and clove cigarettes? I hate it. So the next first official time that I tried it, I was at somebody's house and they were passing around a bowl, and I decided that was a perfect opportunity to actually give it a go, see what it's actually like to smoke weed. And I tried it.
And it was pretty awesome. It was fucking awesome.
And the thing about Los Angeles is that Most people smoke weed around here, in my experience. And over the next few months and years, I started doing it a lot more regularly. And I also discovered edibles. I was doing edibles like almost every day.
Boo! 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 Edibles are lame. Boo!
And that was not great for my psyche. But I want to first talk about some of the positive aspects of smoking weed, some of the things that I liked about it. First of all, the community aspect. You sit around in a circle and you smoke a bowl, and there's nothing more bonding than that.
Did you know that Australians don't do that shit? They just sit around in a circle. They sink the cone at the rage instead of passing the billy around. Figure that one out, liberals.
But one of the things that I liked even more than the communal aspect was the fact that, first of all, it shut off all the thoughts in my brain, because my brain runs like a hamster wheel at all times, and there's so much negativity in there, and there's so much trauma happening, and I'm having PTSD moments like the constant.
How about we don't trauma dump right now? Okay, that's not that fun. All right, I was about to go into a little thing where I was trauma dump. Stop. No, whatever. We're getting so off track. And it's your fault. It's your fault. I blame you. Jesus Christ. Stop distracting me.
And another thing that it did was it made time a little warped. It warped time for me. And I don't know if other people have this experience, but for me, it both slowed down and lengthened time.
I am fully aware that made no sense, but I am not going to elaborate. Because, I don't need to.
I could spend 10 minutes on something and it would feel like 2 hours had passed, but also 2 hours could pass and it could feel like 10 minutes. It was a lot easier for me to slip into the zone and work on something when I was on an edible. It's a little bit harder for me to coax myself into working when I'm sober. And the last thing that I really loved about weed that was probably the most dangerous for me was that it would make me really creative. I would have some of the best ideas I've ever had when I was stoned off my ass. And that was so dangerous because it didn't happen every time, but once in a while, like once out of every 10 times, I would get a killer idea and I would have to rush to write it down and make it right there, and it would be awesome. It would feel like a high. So I started using weed as a way to get myself to work. For a while, it worked. It was fun. I was having a good time. I was enjoying myself, but I was also super creative and working super hard and working the most effectively that I've ever worked. But also, that started to change. Smoking weed started to become a gamble for me, and my chances of having a good time started to dwindle. And it felt like gambling. It felt like I was going into the casino and I didn't know what outcome I was going to get. And there was a 50-50 shot that I might have a really good time and I might work super hard and have great ideas. But then, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just be consumed by my own anxiety and convinced that everyone in my life hates me, even though I have no reason to believe that,
Totally unrelated, but can you drop a comment below letting me know if you secretly hate me and have secretly hated me this entire time? And if you just drop a comment below to let me know if you still fuck with me, or if I fucked up that one time when I said that wrong thing. Thanks, please.
Maybe instead of being able to forget the worst moments of my life, I would just repeat them on a loop in my brain. Maybe instead of being productive, I would just sit on my phone and scroll, or get really wrapped up in a video game and realize that I wasted the last 6 hours on absolutely nothing. And the worst part about it was I started to not even enjoy myself. I started to not have a good time most of the time. And when you're doing it so regularly, that's a problem. Like, if you're doing it every single day and 9 times out of 10 you're having a really bad time, that's a problem.
Yeah, don't listen to her. This time it'll be better. This time, yeah, I just disregard all the other times that it was terrible. This time it'll be great. Just trust me, bro.
I also started getting this paranoia. And I'm not saying that this is for every smoker out there, but for me personally, every time I would smoke pretty reliably, I would get this paranoia that I was becoming stupider, that I was unable to articulate my thoughts as succinctly as I was prior to smoking. I had this paranoid delusion that my brain cells were shriveling up and dying, and I could feel every single one of them just going, you know? So I knew that I wanted to stop. But the problem was that it was so accessible to me. It was so easy to do it. And there still was that gamble that it could be a really good time, that I could have a valuable experience. But like I was saying, those times were becoming less and less frequent. For around a solid 2 months there, every time I would do it, every time I would smoke, I would be like, damn, I need to stop. I am not having a good time anymore. And I always said, oh, I'm going to quit tomorrow. But then I'd always get offered a hit and be like, well, no, it's not that bad. I can do it one more time. I felt like my brain was eating itself alive. And that's not a chill feeling to have. And I'd look around at myself and my surroundings and say, do I want to live like this forever? Is this what I want my future to be? Am I building a future that I can be proud of for myself, or am I just wasting time? And I decided that I was just wasting time. So I knew that I needed to stop. And I tried to stop for a while. So you may be wondering, how did I end up quitting? How did I successfully get out of this cycle? Well, I'll tell you. I took a trip to Canada. That's all it took. Because to be honest, I was going to take my supplies with me. But then I realized, probably not the smartest idea to take that over country borders. So how about I just abstain for the 2 weeks that I'm going to be away from my home? I felt awesome. I had a great time, and I was totally sober basically the entire time, except for, I did drink. But like, other than that, I had a fantastic time, and I felt great. I felt fine. I felt like myself again. It was so nice to just feel like I was finally back to normal. Best feeling in the world, honestly.
Obviously, actually, correction, not the best feeling in the world. The best feeling in the world is this sick-ass vocoder that I unboxed recently that the haters told me that I would never use, and clearly is bringing me so much satisfaction and enjoyment.
I went to Canada to hang out with the Post Sigma Cloud House. So, Dreg, Gokanaro, Art Chad, Liminal Assembly, whole list of celebrity names from Canada. But anyway, the entire time, I was thinking, maybe if I'm there, maybe they'll have weed, maybe I'll buy weed while I'm there. But I felt so good just being sober that I decided to abstain from it, and nobody in the Post Sigma Cloud House was really into weed. I took the chance, and I just said, fuck it, I'm just going to continue not doing it. And even though I didn't have a lot of work to do while I was in Canada, because I was sober, I just felt so much more productive. I just felt so much more aligned with myself, and I just felt like I was finally motivated to work for work's sake for the first time in a while. Being able to watch them work and not have to be dependent on a substance was a little bit inspiring. And I had several conversations with them about it. And talking with them, I kind of realized, I don't need this, and it's not really benefiting my life. That season has passed. So here I am. I'm back, obviously, from vacation in my real house. And also, if you want to hear more about that Canada trip, I can make a whole separate video exposing that whole group of people for their crimes against humanity. But yeah, it's been about 3 weeks since I've last done it, and I feel great. I feel like this photo. Yeah, if you have any stories about weed, leave them in the comments below. Good, bad. Let me know your thoughts. And also, like, nothing against stoners. It's just like, for me, I just feel like that season of my life has passed, and I need to pursue things that are going to bring me more existential fulfillment rather than temporary satisfaction. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's how it's going. And add me on Wizard 101. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Bye.